Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the latest edition of You Get What You Get, live streaming here on the African American Athlete Facebook page. You Get What You Get Facebook page, the African American Athlete YouTube page. We everywhere, y'all. I'm Rickey Hampton, along with my co-host Tim Turner and Tree McDougal, coming to you on a Wednesday evening this week. And guys, we have a special guest here with us tonight uh, as we get into the NBA playoffs. But before we introduce this young man, I want to say hello to Tim and Tree. See how you guys are doing.
I'm doing great. I'm excited about our guest this evening, and I'm also excited about the game that's on right now. So,
Oh yeah, yeah. That's going to be a great series.
Well,
Out of nowhere, you have Miami coming in there. You get the favorite Celtics in there who survived, and they took out not only the Sixers, they took out the coach. But so we're looking forward to that, and just a lot of basketball talk tonight, and especially Derek.
But Tree got a little slight grin, like she knows something's going on tonight. You got a parlay going on DraftKings or something, Tree?
no, I just have a favorite. I just have a
Okay,
favorite team,
okay.
longtime favorite Celtics fan. I don't just.
All right, well, we're
excited
gonna,
about
we gonna get into that. But let
Yeah.
me introduce our guest, good friend of mine. In fact, Derek and I do a show together called As Good as It Gets. Derek, I think we've been doing our show for about 5 years now. And Derek's former New Jersey Nets shooting guard, played his college basketball at the University of Texas, San Antonio, where his jersey, that number 30, also hangs from the rafters of the Convocation Center. And yeah, that Gervin last name is basketball royalty. He's the younger brother. I'm gonna call him little brother because Derek's about 6'8". He's the younger brother of the husband himself, George Gervin. D, man, thanks for stopping in and spending some time with us tonight.
And thanks for the invite. It's a pleasure being on with you and Tim and Miss Tree. It's first time I've talked to Miss Tree, so it's a pleasure.
Okay, where do we start? I'm gonna let Tim kick it off. I mean, we got so many places we can go.
Well, there's a lot to start with, but because Derek is in San Antonio, I already asked him earlier, had they had the parades already? Because for winning the lottery last night with Victor Wembanyama, that's how you pronounce it? The 19-year-old phenom from France, and just what that means to the city. And I saw a meme online today where they had one of the guys from Trading Places who was in Coming to America saying, "Mortimer, we're back." Talking about the Spurs. So what's your take on that?
Well, I mean, it puts the Spurs back in the limelight. I'll say that first. The people last night.
I'm sorry, D, go ahead.
I'm looking at the big fella. This is what you got coming to San Antonio. Something you've never seen before, basically. A big guy that can run the pick and roll, and he's actually the one with the ball. So he's initiating the pick and roll. That's something different. You look at his length. He can handle the ball. I mean, there's not much he can do. The only question is physically. How will he be able to deal with the grind of an 82-game season? We know he's not the biggest guy. He's thin. He's really thin. And that worries me sometimes when you got these big guys coming in when it's 7'3", 7'4", and then they don't have a lot of beef on their body. So I'm hoping that he'll come here to San Antonio. I'm sure they'll get him in pretty good shape. He has an advantage of being able to be around people like the great David Robinson, of course, Tim Duncan, who was rated as the best power forward at this time. And Manu Ginobili and Tony Parker are here. So there's a lot of guys that can show Victor the way, show him what it's like, what it's about to be a pro, how to conduct yourself on a nightly basis, on a daily basis. And that's something that a lot of people don't get. So I think that gives him a big advantage over a lot of players. And I think he's the type of guy that has a disposition to handle what's in front of him.
You made mention of him being thin, kind of a slight frame guy, and it made me think that the guy that didn't play a lick of basketball this year because he got hurt in preseason, that really thin kid is with Oklahoma City.
Big Chet. I know where you're going.
Yeah, so I'm thinking about that's going to be quite a matchup several times this season out west when you see the Spurs and OKC get together.
Well, I mean, Victor, last year I was talking about Chet Holmgren. I think he's really going to be a special player, and we see what happened to him. If you look at it, man, this game, a lot of people look at what's going on the floor, but the practices, when they can practice, everything is going 100 miles per hour. So you're going full speed every day. And to play one game, you know, if you look at Steph Curry, man, it's amazing. I got to give him some credit. To be in the shape that he's in, to be running around that floor, this guy's running miles a game, miles all around that court. And so that's what these guys got to the pace of the game has changed. And see, that's going to be the biggest challenge for Victor, the pace of the game. It's not like playing in Europe. You got the 24-second shot clock, and then, you know, when you get the rebound, if you get the offensive rebound, the clock is reset to 14. So you're going up and down a lot more than you have in the past. And that's the first thing he's going to have to get adjusted to. But like I said, he has some Hall of Famers down here that can help him out. So it's going to be a grinding process, but I think he's up to the task.
True.
I was going to say, you know, you talked about the people he's surrounded by, but also a great coach, right? So
hey, one of the best.
Yeah. So, I mean, again, to have him surrounded by all these people, I think, yeah, I'm excited. I may have to switch my allegiance back to San Antonio. You know, to be honest, I'm kind of a bandwagoner. It's like whoever wins, I get all excited about.
Hey, Tree, Tree,
Yes.
you can have two teams because I'm a Detroiter, but I love I love the Lakers. I love seeing what LeBron and these guys are doing. But Ricky knows I'm a Denver guy. I picked Denver to win it this year, but I like the Lakers also. So the series I'm looking at right now, I'm kind of torn.
Yeah.
To see these two teams, but I want Denver to nudge it out. But I want to just see a great series. So you can't have allegiance to two teams.
All right. Thank you for that, for granting me that permission.
Hey, Derek, I remember us talking about it on air a couple of years ago when Zion came in. Man, you called it out before as early as anybody. You were concerned about his playing style and the toll that could take because on his frame, him dunking everything, trying to block everything. Are there any physical concerns you have about Wembanyama in that regard? And number two, after him, people thinking, you know, you got Miller and Scoot Henderson, and then you may as well just pick anybody in terms of the draft.
First, let me take the Charlotte winning second in the draft, and then I'll get to Victor. With Charlotte winning second in the draft, they got a decision to make now because they have a point guard already in place, LaMelo Ball. I know he got injured late in the season, but LaMelo was on an all-star pace. So now they got a decision. Do you take it's only three guys they're talking about highly in the draft. It's Wembanyama, and then you got Scoot Henderson, and, of course, the young fella Brandon Miller from Alabama. So now Charlotte has to decide, do they want to go ahead and take another point guard because Scoot is projected to be an all-star. Do you take him when you already have LaMelo Ball? So that's a question, something they're going to have to answer. As far as Victor, I always worried about a big guy like his size. I always worry about their legs. If you remember, Ricky, I played with Sam Bowie. Sam was thicker than Victor, but, you know, Sam has several shin injuries. And if you look at a lot of these guys that come in, it's usually the legs, the Greg Odens, whoever it may be. They come in, it's usually the legs. So that would be my biggest worry. You know, guys tearing their ACL, things like that. I think we've seen that a lot. We've seen it with KD, another very thin guy. So that would be my biggest concern. Chet Holmgren, leg problems. So yes, that would be my biggest issue with Victor.
Ralph Sampson.
All of them, Ricky. Yeah, I saw Ralph. I got to actually talk to Ralph when he was retired. And he was coaching and stuff, and I sat right with him. Ralph could barely get up out of his chair at the time I was with him. Knees totally blown out, basically. And so that was sad to see. So it's a lot of guys over the course of history that the legs have been the issue. And I'm hoping that we can avoid that with Victor, but, that's always an issue today.
I guess it is the body type that you're looking at, because, I joked about Zion going down there in New Orleans and eating himself out of the league, and he did get big, and but he's like shed so much now. He's reshaped his body now. I think he's gotten serious about not really having played the last 2 seasons, and this kid coming over here knows he's got some work to do over the summer to be banging with some of those people. He's not going to have him all the time, but who out west is he going to deal with? Aiden, maybe, if he's still in Phoenix. You're going to have to deal with some of these, Jokic, that guy on a couple of nights a year, and that kind of thing right there. Will he be able to take that on a regular basis? Will he take care of himself?
At this point, I hate to sound like this. It's not as bad to the extreme of Ben Simmons. But sometimes I wonder if Zion really wants to play this game. At the end this year, he sat out a long time. They had cleared him to play. And so I don't want to go, people were going off on Kawhi Leonard being cleared to play and then sitting out. Zion, I thought, had a chance to come back. If you look at it, they have a really good team in place. He was the missing ingredient. They have 2 other all-star caliber players. They have C.J. McCollum, and they have Brandon Ingram. So I was kind of disappointed he didn't come back. In this game, most guys aren't going to be 100%. Right. So you can't make it where now the only time you're going to play is when you're 100%. Over the course of the year, how many guys are 100%? So I just felt that he needed to try to suck it up, be true to that team. I think these guys forget sometimes. When they go over and beyond and they pay you this big money that they're paying, they're not paying like an 8 to 5. They're paying you millions of dollars. Just for that alone, I think sometimes you have to come out your comfort zone and try to see if you're able to go or not. Zion didn't even see if he was able to go. And that's what bothered me.
Now, weren't they in the hunt late in the season as well, where he could have probably made a difference down the stretch?
Without question, he could have made a difference. Every time you see him play, Tim, he's on the all-star level. There's not really a player you can compare him to. They mentioned Charles Barkley, but Zion is so different with that left hand. Mm-hmm. And the guy can play on one side of the floor, basically, and he's going left, and he's still going left, and he's going effectively, and there doesn't seem to be anything they can do about it. So when you got that kind of guy on the floor, and he's just his presence alone it raises all the other players' confidence. It raises the fans' confidence. So sometimes you just got to go out. I wish he had that same fire like a Jimmy Butler, who we saw his ankle the size of a golf ball, and he still refused to sit out. That's what we need more from some of these guys.
Yeah.
I guess I'm thinking too, if you're just sitting there and getting paid, what's his
a lot. They gave him a new contract.
What's his motivation to get out there?
Well, this is the game that you always played as a child, and you said, Zion was very heralded in high school. I don't remember playing for the money. I got out there with my friends and stuff. I got out there by myself because I love the game. Money is just a part of it. That's the perks that comes along with it. The love of the game is what these guys have got to do. You always respect the game, and you give people your all. And sometimes that means you're not going to be able to be 100%. Just like if you go to a regular job, 8 to 5, sometimes you got to suck it up. And it's the same thing in this game. And you get paid a lot of money to suck it up.
Yeah. Our buddy Ralph Riddle checks in and said Jasper Bibbs, Lansing product, is now Zion's personal trainer and got his weight down. And hopefully he can get out there, because when he's been on the court, he's been an effective player. Hey, but before we get to the games at hand, the 2 conference finals, that we want to get your insight on. Man, it's been all kind of coaching news going on. The latest guy to go is Doc Rivers, who was fired by the 76ers. Your thought on what's happening with some of these coaching, some of these firings and some of these jobs that are open?
Well, the times have changed. Today it's become, what have you done for me lately? A lot of very known coaches, good coaches have been fired. Nick Nurse, Mike Budenholzer. We know Udoka had a situation last year. I'm gonna throw
NBA
Steven
coaches.
Silas. Yeah. Oh, this guy right here who I love as a friend.
Yeah, that's Monty Williams on the screen. Go ahead, D.
So I'm just saying these guys, it seems to be now it's you have to be able to reach these young guys. And it seems like now they're taking coaches that they think have a personality to deal with a lot of these players individually. And if you look at it, they're firing good coaches, but they're trying to bring in guys like you got some coaches just have a good relationship. I'm glad you got Monty on the screen because if you look at Monty's situation, I think him being fired had a lot to do with him not being able to repair the relationship with DeAndre Ayton. Now, I don't know which one is at fault, and we'll never know. But still, when you got that going on in the public eye, it's never good for the organization. So Matt Ishbia, the new owner, comes in. He's got to make a decision. And it looks like to me he chose DeAndre Ayton. So in a lot of these cases, I'm hearing that maybe Giannis had something to do with Mike Budenholzer being fired. So sometimes your voice grows stale, and there's time for a change. It doesn't make you a bad coach. Doc Rivers in the same situation. Doesn't make Doc a bad coach. He's a proven coach. But sometimes your voice grows stale, and as we know, this is a business. So sometimes you just have to make a change.
And all these guys are former coaches of the year.
All of them won titles in the last couple of years as well.
Nick Nurse,
Dwayne Casey.
I mean, it's I mean, the Celtics were a better team than Boston, although the Celtics were a better team than the Sixers. Although the Sixers had them on the ropes for sure.
The Sixers. Have you seen Doc's record in the postseason though? And that's what probably another thing that killed him. But I know, Derek, you're talking about relating to young people. It was a power struggle from what I'm understanding in Philly between Harden. And Harden was not going to want to play again in Philly if Doc was back.
But isn't it easier to just blame the coach? I mean, you got to play better. You got to play better.
Well, Embiid shouldn't be saying a whole lot, though. We've heard this same story before. So Joel has a habit of doing a lot of talk. I'm starting to question if the regular season MVP is more important to him than actually getting some success in the playoffs. But Doc, if you look at it overall, if you had say they were on the bubble as far as do we keep Doc or not before the game was over, that third quarter to me cemented it. They were down 3 points at halftime in an elimination game, and they came out in quarter number 3. They got outscored 33-10.
Yeah. Come on.
That right there tells me you lost the team. Yeah. And if you know, Embiid does a lot of talking, but Doc didn't make Embiid get down low where he should be. He still allowed him to play at the 3-point line. He's playing at the elbow, free throw area, shooting jumpers and all that. And that's not what made them a better team. They were a better team when the ball was moving. It was fluid. The offense was fluid, and it kept the other guys involved. It got to the point where it was a two-man show. It ended up being Embiid and Tyrese Maxey, and that's not good enough. Harden looked like his mind was elsewhere. Maybe it is in Houston. But, I mean, Doc Rivers, they've given him chances. At some point, you can't be stagnant. You got to advance. And everyone expected Philly to make that at least to the conference finals. And I think by him not making to the conference finals, I think that's what sealed the deal.
But, Derek, you talked about you said something about where Embiid needs to be. And that makes me think of a mindset. I mean, granted, you know his game. You know what kind of game he has. But isn't that how people look at Jokic, or how they looked at Dirk Nowitzki, or how they looked at Akeem, or people like that who had the ability to go out there beyond the arc or play out there? And, they don't want big men doing anything but with their back to the rim and backing people down.
But Tim, here's the difference with Jokic, though. Jokic is the type guy, if he's taking you off the dribble, he's got a LeBron mentality to me. It's amazing for a center. He's one of the smartest centers I've seen, one of the smartest players in the league today. When he's off the dribble, though, it's not necessarily just to score. It's to get the easiest shot, the best shot. When Joel's trying to dribble and all of that, it's usually with the scoring mindset. So it's more predictable. You already know he's looking to score. It's got to be score or create. And that's what he doesn't do very well. I think he has the ability, but, having the ability doesn't mean anything if you don't do anything about it. So I think that's his problem. And that's the difference between him and a guy like Jokic, the ability to not forget your teammates and to give them those what I call rhythm shots. And Joel doesn't do that very well.
Yeah, Ralph checks in. Philly thinks Doc got them as far as he could as they lost in the second round 3 years in a row. And injuries don't seem to matter when coaches get fired. That is true. I mean, that's
because Phoenix. What would have happened had Phoenix had Chris Paul? Would Monty still be there?
Oh boy,
they played better when he was hurt. Honestly,
I think. I still think Phoenix would have lost that series, to be honest. I still think it came down to repairing their relationship because remember, you got the new owner comes in. So they're trying to set a precedent early that there's a certain way our organization is going to behave. And if you got friction going in as an owner, who wants to go in right into the fire? So I'm sure that Coach Ispia learned something from the owner. I'm sure he learned something from the Joe Tsai situation with Kyrie and Kevin Durant. The friction, it doesn't bring you together. And I think he decided to make a decision early. And by them giving Aiden a new contract, of course, they gave Aiden the upper hand. And the owner looks to be like a player type owner. And that means a lot. You got some players that are going to take the coach's side, some owners, and you got some owners that prefer the players. And I think that's what we're looking at. Matt Ishbia was a player. Never forget that. He played at Michigan State. So I think he's going to favor the player. And in this situation, DeAndre Ayton seems to have won right now.
Well, if you're going to favor the player, I think he had a flashback when he tried to keep the ball from Jokic when it went out of bounds the other night.
Well, that too. But, I mean, you got to look at Ayton. I mean, he's still young. I mean, he's still maturing.
Right.
You got a guy, he's capable of giving you 20 and 10 every night. And that's, you can't find that everywhere in the league. I think Monty is a great person. And I mean great, man. Wow. It'd take me all day to talk about Monty as a person. But is he still the answer for the organization? And they didn't feel like he was. Chris Paul, they got a decision. They say they're going to re-sign Chris Paul. So either with Monty or not, they're trying to move forward. I'm sure they're going to try to get someone decent in the draft that can help them as well. But if you look at it, they got a good nucleus. They have T.J. Warren now. They didn't use him enough. They got Terrence Ross now, who they didn't use enough. And they got another kid named Wainwright on the team that's a really good player. So if they just add a couple pieces and include a new coach, it's not like they're dropping off the earth. They're still going to be a very competitive team going into next season, just with a new coach, a new voice.
Well, you mentioned the Lakers series. Go ahead, Tree.
Say that again, Tree. I'm sorry. Say that again. Without question. Without question. Without question. He will. They already saying that Milwaukee's interested in him. It's the people that are going to be the most coveted right now. Monty's going to be one of them. Ty Lue, even though he's under contract, there's a couple teams out there that's looking at him. He has 2 years left on the Clippers deal, but we know money talks. So, of course, it's going to be like a carousel, revolving door. So these coaches are getting ready to just switch teams in some cases.
Mm-hmm.
Just checking in. Celtics were up last time I peeked by 61-49, right, with about 2 minutes to go in the first half. Uh, Tatum, Tatum has been playing just fantastic, Derek. Uh, let's get into this series. You know, Miami, number 8 seed, knocked off the number 1 seed, Milwaukee Bucks. Jimmy Butler was just uh, uh, terrific. I mean, had the big 56-point game. Your thoughts on this series? You know, the Celtics won game 1. They're up in this one, but you know they're all they're doing is protecting home court right now. Can Miami pull off another upset in this series?
This game 2?
This is game 2 tonight. Yeah.
Well, this game 1, Ricky.
Game one.
I mean game 1. I'm thinking about.
Yeah, I was like, I know I didn't miss another 50-point outing.
And I was like,
Boston, of course, is favored in this series, but Miami's been the underdog in the other 2 series as well. And that's because of their resiliency. They're a team that's going to fight you for 48 minutes. They do it every game. If you look at it, they got Pat Riley in the upper management, and then Eric Spoelstra has become one of the best coaches in the NBA. So that alone keeps them in the game. And then you got a dog out there by the name of Jimmy Butler, who just refuses to lose. And it seems like the guys have kind of, they've latched on to Jimmy. He's raising the other guys' confidence. Max Strus, Gabe Vincent, all those guys have been playing well. And sometimes playing well doesn't mean you have to score a lot of points. It's just making decisive moves, being strong with the ball, playing good help team defense, all the little things that don't show up necessarily in the stat sheet. And that's what Miami's good at. But as far as winning this series, I just don't think they can score enough. Of course, they lost Tyler Hero during the playoffs. That's 20 points a game right there. And that's something I don't think they can make up. Well, you know, Tim, Victor Oladipo is not 100%. They tried him. That didn't work. Duncan Robinson, I love Duncan Robinson, but we know he's not an asset defensively. So his minutes aren't going to be like big minutes. And I just think they don't have enough in the tank. I think Boston is the deeper team that could go 10 deep if necessary. And, of course, they have I don't think they have matchups for Tatum and Brown over the course of 7 games. They might in a couple games because each game is a game within itself, and you have to make adjustments every game. But I don't think over the course of 7 games they have enough to deal with Tatum and Jaylen Brown. Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. Boston wins this series, and I think they're just a better scoring team.
Well, they have that X factor too. And Al Horford, it seems like his defense has been just off the chain there on taking out the best guys on the other team when they put them out.
Well, don't forget Robert Williams as well. And the problem with Miami is their biggest guy. If you look at it on the course of the game, Bam Adebayo, who I love, but he's only about 6'9". And that's what scares me about Miami. So that means Boston to be able to get to the basket a lot of times. And they don't have that rim protector like an Anthony Davis. And I think that also hurts Miami. I think it's going to be a good series. I don't think they'll sweep Miami at all. I can see Miami winning 2 games. And I'm picking Boston in 6 to go to the finals. Maybe 5.
Do you have Denver in 6 out west?
Say it again?
Do you have Denver in 6 out west?
I'm gonna tell you this. I picked Denver to win it all. I have Denver in 6 unless they win game 2. If they win game 2, people are not gonna like me for it. But if Denver wins game 2, I got them in 5. I just think they're the stronger team, Tim. I think they're deeper than the Lakers. And then the Lakers had an aberration the last game. They shot 46% from the 3-point line. That's not the Lakers that I've seen all year. So the one game, they shot well. AD played a fantastic game. LeBron had a fantastic game. So usually when those two play great, they win. Austin Reeves had 23. I believe Hachimura had about 17, and they still lost. So they're going to make adjustments, probably put Rudy Hachimura more on AD. But we know Jokic is the type of guy, eventually he's going to figure you out. And I just think that Denver has the best offense, but they got to continue to rebound so that they can get fast break points. If this becomes a half-court series, then we're talking a whole different series. And but I think Denver is good enough to not let the Lakers make them just settle into a half-court game.
Hey, D, what is it about Jokic? I mean, he's definitely not out-quicking anybody, but he's not slow. I mean,
Ricky, you've never
what is it about this cat?
You've never seen anybody like him. First of all, the guy is so awkward, man. If you look at some of the shots he puts up, for the average person, 90% of those shots you would say they're off. But he makes them, and he makes them at a very, very high percentage. It's hard to game plan for him. He has very soft hands for a big guy. He has a very good IQ. He can see the floor. A lot of the young people don't know about Bill Walton when he was in his prime. Another good passer, very high basketball IQ. And that's what Jokic has. And then him being so awkward kind of throws you off. Hey, Ricky, did you see it? Tree, did you see the last shot that Jokic made at halftime? Did you see how AD looked at him?
Davis's face.
Oh, but you see the AD look? Did you see AD's look afterward? All he could do was like, man, this guy, I mean, come on, man. How do you explain that? And that sums up his offense. How do you explain it?
Yeah. But you know, they got some great contributions last night. KCP gave them 21. I mean, they needed all 21 of KCP's points last night. Can they keep getting that? Joker gonna get his, Murray gonna get his. And LeBron and Davis are gonna get theirs.
Ricky, remember KCP is a former Laker, so he's got some motivation. I don't know if he's going to get – I don't believe he's going to get 20 every night, but you're going to get hard play from him every night for 35, 40 minutes a night. And he has that chip on his shoulder from not being a Laker anymore. I don't my biggest issue is Michael Porter Jr., I think, is the key to this series. Because one night you might get 20 from him and 10 rebounds like the last game. And next game you might get 6 points and 5 rebounds. And so that's what's worried me the most all season about Denver. He has to be effective every single game. And they might even, you tell me what all y'all think about this. Aaron Gordon has been a problem offensively because he's in that what they call the short corner where they put the dunk spot, they call it. So that doesn't take AD out of the paint. I had an idea, maybe try Aaron Gordon sometime, maybe move him out of that spot and move him to the three-point line or something, space him out, and put Michael Porter Jr. in that spot. Because Michael Porter Jr. can stretch AD out of the lane. If you make him switch off into Michael Porter Jr., it's kind of like JaMychal Green for Golden State. AD couldn't pack it in the lane when they put in JaMychal Green, a shooter. And you might have to try that with the Lakers, somehow make them switch off where AD's guarding Michael Porter Jr. You got to get AD away from that basket defensively. And so that's something Denver's going to have to work out because he altered several shots in that game.
Well, yeah. But the game should have never been as close as it was. It was the Nuggets defense more so than the Lakers defense coming down the stretch. It seemed like they couldn't stop Austin out there on the wing. They couldn't. I mean, they had nothing for him out there. And every time he touched the ball, it seemed like he had a good look.
Did you notice when he had the good looks? Mostly when he'll keep getting the good looks if LeBron goes onto that mid-post area more. Instead of LeBron out there shooting threes, LeBron should be playing more of a Magic Johnson role, a scorer distributor. Kind of like Magic played against Philadelphia game 7, Tim. Mm-hmm. The ball goes through him. And then everybody plays off of that. That's how they were getting their good shots. They don't need LeBron trying to go off the dribble all the time from the top of the key. That stagnates the offense, even though he scored some baskets. But it takes the Lonnie Walkers and those guys out of rhythm. So I think LeBron needs to conserve energy, go more onto the low post, and I think that'll make them a more effective team. And I think that will cause Denver more problems defensively.
True.
Hey guys, I want to play this right quick.
Star Ja Morant has been suspended for a second time after once again appearing to flash a gun on social media. The video circulated on Saturday night. It shows Morant with what appears to be a handgun while he's riding in a friend's car. Yesterday, the Grizzlies said they were aware of the video and suspended Morant from all team activities pending league review. In March, Morant was suspended for 8 games after he was seen holding a gun inside a nightclub on Instagram Live. A representative for Morant did not immediately respond to requests for comment.
Derek, number one, if you are his teammate and your team, you just got knocked out, but you were, one of these teams everybody was looking at, what are your thoughts? And just in general, which could be the same thing, your thoughts on this deal with Ja? And
well, first of all, rarely do you see him around his teammates. You see him around his buddies. And so usually other teams, if you look at Golden State, you got Draymond and Clay and Steph are really close. And it's not just on the court. I haven't seen a video yet of Ja out with his teammates. So, I guess his priorities are elsewhere. The sad part is Ja, we just went through this 2 months ago. So now it's in the NBA's hands. And this for all the young people out there, you got 2 choices you can make. And like Ja, you can decide you want to be a thug if that's your choice. That's your choice, personal choice. But the NBA is going to give you 2 choices. You take the thug life, or you can take this money where they're trying to offer you and give you. You're not going to be able to do both. And that seems to be Ja's problem. I can't even explain what could make you go back on Instagram on the weekend and flash a gun. And I have to say this about the people that's getting on his friends and his family. This is a Ja situation. If anybody looked at the video closely, the friend was put the phone down when Ja pulled out the gun. So the friend wasn't responsible for Ja pulling out the gun. That was Ja acting on his own. And that's what people have to realize. He's 23. He's not 15. And they've paid this man a lot of money. Just that alone, he's already financially secure, but the money has to keep coming in. He has to make better decisions. I'm somewhat blaming Adam Silver and the NBA for that slap on the hand that they gave him the first time. I have never seen someone go to a rehab. It was that like a weekend at Club Med or something. I thought that was something was wrong with that. And then they basically took away 6 of the games of his 8-game suspension when he really only served 2-game suspension without pay. So I thought that was something that was wrong. They didn't hold him to the fire. And so I don't think he took the NBA serious. Now he has to take it serious because I watched Adam Silver. He didn't look very happy. He said that he used the word shocked. And when you have a commissioner using those words, if that was David Stern, we wouldn't even be having this conversation right now. He'd probably already be announced the 1-year suspension. So Adam Silver is going to have to make a decision, but he also is going to have to factor in that Ja didn't shoot a gun. And I'm not condoning him having a gun. I think it's crazy. But he didn't shoot anyone. He didn't break any laws, I'll say. But he broke the NBA law. And that's what he has to deal with. Those contracts have stipulations in the contract, and you have to follow those contracts. You must adhere to the rules, or no one is bigger than the game. Let me say that. So now it's in the NBA's hands, and whatever decision they decide to put out, Ja just has to live with it.
Hey, Tree, I was just reading today that his shoe contract has been put on hold. They had a website up for it. The website is down.
I'm not surprised by that.
Yeah, I mean, he is going to pay a financial price for this.
And I was thinking about it, earlier. He's an adult, but doesn't have that adult, perhaps, and of course I don't know him. It doesn't exhibit that adult mindset. And I think it's, if you don't have the people around you to help you with that, or they're helping you and you just ignore it, I don't see how he's going to change. Perhaps
I think we
as
lost.
opposed
Oh, she's back. She's back. Okay.
Oh,
We
I was
missed
just
all that.
saying,
Come again, Tree. We lost you right at the end.
oh, just, just thinking about if he'd rather hang with his friends than, as Derek said, as opposed to his teammates. I don't see how he's ever going to get out of that cycle of not doing what we consider the right thing to do. Yeah, that's not against the law, but I think that
You're stuck again.
I hear you. Oh, I'm here.
Yeah, no,
The
Yeah,
tree
we
is
look-
stuck.
We lost it.
Yeah.
yeah, I kind of got the gist of
She's
what.
back. Yeah, well, she said but I was looking, saw something on Fox the other day where they were saying Ja did nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong with having a firearm. So when you're on that side, when they're agreeing with you on something that looks bad, it has some sort of tinge to it. Granted, that's one thing.
Hey, Tim, he can have 100 guns. That's what people don't see. This is not an NRA thing.
Right.
This is an NBA thing.
Right.
He can have 100 guns. You just can't be flashing them. He's not the only guy in the league with guns. He's just the only guy flashing it. And then the music doesn't help. If you listen to that music in the background, he was listening to just straight gangster.
Right.
And so he has to decide. This is what,
you saw what he used to do. He and another guy got into a fight over some cards or something in the locker room, and they pulled guns on each other.
Javaris Crentington. Yeah.
And when Gilbert Arenas is the voice of conscience in a situation, there's a problem, because he was like, "Come on, Ja, you can't do that." And this guy here, it would be fitting to see Hulu drop him, Powerade drop him, Nike drop him, and yeah, he could get suspended, but I would suspend him for like the last 20 games of the regular season, where it would really hurt the team. And see, that when you get his organization to be mad at him, because
hey Tim, let me say, you know how I think you get his attention, and this might sound crazy to some people, but his job, he has a chance for generational wealth, right?
Right.
So usually when people do that, they want to secure their families. They usually secure the mom and dad, right? So when your money stops coming in, how can you take care of mom and dad? And I don't think anyone's brought that to light with him. This is not just about you, Ja. You also got some people. You bought your mom and dad, the house you were living in, you gave it to your mom and dad, and then you buy a house a couple doors down. But when your finances aren't coming in, what does that do to mom and dad now every month? You just got to give him some different perspectives. It don't seem like he's listening. You got to try everything you can with him right now. But I think he needs tough love right now.
Well, I understand. It's like he's a middle class kid, and that's the thing I think is lost on everybody, because I initially didn't know much about him, but then you read about the guy. He's middle class. This is like, this is an act. It's an act. But he's a kid, and I guess he's not really comfortable in who he is right now at 23. But I mean, they're giving me $40 million a year to bounce the basketball and to be really excellent on a really good team. And I prefer to do something this crazy on the side. So you're right, it is a job problem. And you talked about I think he said something the last time that he would make better decisions. You said he needed to make better decisions. He said he was going to make better decisions in an interview not more than 2 weeks ago. I'm going to make better decisions. Pardon me?
that was a statement. I think that was a statement somebody wrote for him.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
No, what's up?
It had to be.
Yeah, it's like he said it, but it wasn't probably in his heart to read this. You got to read this.
Right. So he did make better decisions. What he's done is put Memphis in a really difficult situation, because they can't not do something. They're going to have to do something beyond say, you can't come to our gym. Because that's all you can do right now. You can't come into the gym. We're still paying you, but you can't come into the gym. The league's going to have to step in and do something, and it's going to hurt Memphis. Steven Adams, as broke down as he was last year, a teammate, during the season tried to tell him he needed to tighten up, and he ignored that.
Yeah, that's what I think Dee was saying there earlier. When if he doesn't want to do it, it doesn't matter who tell him, his daddy could tell him, his mama could tell him, he's going to do it. And I think that's a point you made. That was a statement. It came from somebody.
I'm wondering, is the guy drinking? I'm wondering, does he have a drinking problem?
And if you're making 40 million, you're the boss now, right? So these people can't tell me anything.
You're making 40 million until they say you are suspended without pay.
Ricky, let me ask you this quickly. Did any of you see when he was drinking that tequila out of that bottle in Denver?
Yeah. He didn't look like it was the first time.
I'm wondering if he has a drinking problem. I'm serious.
But you know, you're making 40 million until you're not making 40 million, because there is a threshold, no matter how talented you are, that you can cross where, you know, the franchise will throw their hands up and say, we got to move on. And that was leading me to something, D. He'll have another contract coming up. Won't the Grizzlies consider all of this when they are thinking about this next deal with him?
Oh boy, without question. When they pay, because if you look at it, the salary cap, these guys are making. You got some guys going to make $60 million a year now, and so you got to be able to. You got to be trustworthy. Josh should be learning, and I'm not talking about the anti-Semitic stuff, but before that, Kyrie Irving, wishy-washy behavior. You got to be trustworthy if these guys are going to throw you a 5-year deal at $300 million and all that kind of stuff. And right now, Ja hasn't proven that he can earn that he's earned that money right now. So they got decisions to make. He's causing problems for everybody. These kids out here are seeing this behavior. He's got millions of young kids out here that look up to him. And so they got to factor all of that stuff in. You know what they say, Ricky, availability, the best ability is availability. And if you're not there, you're part of the organization, but you're really not. They paying you to be there. So that's something they got to figure out.
But it has impacted him already, because I think his jersey was like the number 3 or 4 sale in the NBA. Now it's like down to 8. And then you have where people like Wilbon would come out the other day and told his kid loves Ja. And he says, like, yeah, we're getting rid of all of this stuff, and we will not be putting any money into that guy's pocket. So, and you're going to have people around the country with the same mindset, whereas I'm not funding that kind of foolishness. Reminds me of when Michael Vick got in trouble in Atlanta here. My boys had Vick jerseys. I had them hand them over to me. I put them out on the curb in the trash. And they already got our money. We'd already bought the jerseys, but I was not going to support that.
Yeah. Hey, Derek, you actually, not only did you play in the National Basketball Association, you actually grew up in the game, being the brother of George the Iceman Gervin. So you've seen these guys and how they conduct themselves, you know, from the time you were a kid. You were friends with Dr. J when you were 10 years old or whatever. The way those guys conducted themselves, and you know, there have been issues throughout the league's history with drugs and you know, you always have problems. But from what you've seen in the game from the time you've been in it, which is all your life, to some of the stuff you see now, what's the big change?
Well, the biggest change is everything's on social media today. The cameras are everywhere. Phones are everywhere. So the choices that you made before weren't public, I'll say, behind closed doors. It's kind of like that saying, what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. Yeah. That's in the past. That's not anymore. So everything that you do, you got to, you know, you're under the microscope. And the money's changed. So when the money changed, everything changes. People are watching you more, what you do, every decision you make. They don't mind you going out to the clubs. These guys like to party. I mean, that's the NBA. These guys like to party. But when you go out and party, you have responsibilities. You can't be out there and you're at the club and you're drunk and you're falling over people and all of that. There's just a certain way you have to be true to yourself. You have to be true to your family. and you have to be true to the organization. And bigger than that, you have to be true to the league. This is a business. These owners, a lot of these owners are already reluctant to play. And I'm going to say African Americans in this case, and Afro Americans, if I can say that. They're already reluctant to pay us some dollars. So Ja is messing it up for the guys coming behind him. And that's what bothers me. I don't want them to start cutting the pay. They won't say the real reasons they will be cutting the pay, but it will be because of behavior. And I don't want to see that happen. I want to see the pay continue to increase, the game continue to grow globally. And those are the things Ja is affecting right now. He has to realize this is so much bigger than him. This is about the integrity of the league.
That's a good point. He's messing it up for everybody else. Everybody's coming after him. You're right.
Yeah, let me get this in. Question from Ralph Riddle. Is Monty a good choice as the next Pistons coach? The Pistons have reached out to him, and if they'd have got Wembanyama, it'd have been a good destination for any coach. But they still have several talented young players here in town: Cunningham, Duran, Ivy. Wiseman has a lot of potential, a big 7-footer. What about Monty Williams coming to Detroit, Derek?
Well, I think that's something he'll think about. They have a good young nucleus. I'm sure they'll have to make some more moves. But they got to figure out what they're going to do with this draft pick. Do they go after Scoot Henderson or do they go after Brandon Miller? He won't even. These guys probably won't even be there. So the 5th pick, man, I was surprised to see them drop to the 5th pick. So they're going to have to do their due diligence. There's about 6 or 7 guys between that 4 and 10 spot that'll be some decent players. None of them are projected to be stars. So we'll see what happens. But I think they're going to make a good move. I think Monty would be a good coach. I think a change would be good for him. He's a disciplined coach, and I think it would be good for some of these young guys on the Pistons. So if they could get him, I would be all for it.
And Kelvin Sampson's name has come into focus in Milwaukee. Sampson, the outstanding coach of the Houston Cougars. What do you think about him, D?
He's a well-respected coach in college. I don't know. Sometimes that doesn't translate to the NBA now because it's a different game. And see, in Houston, the coaches are in charge in college. In the pros, the players have the most say, it seems to be. So if he's comfortable with giving up his college job and that security and going into the rigors of the NBA, and things could change quickly in the NBA. You get a little more security in college. So yeah, it depends on how, what him and his family decide. But I'm sure he would entertain you at least think about it. It's an NBA opportunity. So I don't really know. It depends on if he's had the aspirations of being an NBA coach.
Well, if they make the price right, I think anybody. I've heard Izzo's name mentioned with Phoenix now that his former player, Matt Ishbia, is the owner there. I think that would be an absolute disaster.
Ricky, remember now you want your first. You want
it is a great coach, but he is.
Remember your first job though, Ricky, or your second. If say Monty were to leave, or whoever, Calvin Sampson. Say for your first job, you going into the NBA, you want to make sure you go in the right situation.
Yeah.
You don't want to go like Steven Silas went to Houston, and then the next thing you know, he's losing James Harden. He's losing Russell Westbrook. So sometimes things change and they're not what you thought they'd be. So all of those things factors in. So before you make a move and uproot your family, you got to make sure that you think about it 100% and you decide to that once you buy in, you got to make sure you're all bought in because things change overnight in the NBA.
Jared, what do you think about Golden State in their team next year? Think they'll be losing some players or they keep the gang together?
Well, it sounds like they want to keep Draymond. The question is going to be what they do with Klay Thompson and Jordan Poole. And for me, I think if Klay, I can't see Klay leaving. I think Klay will maybe take a pay cut so he can stay with the. It's not like he needs the money, to be honest. So I can't see Klay leaving. It doesn't sound like Draymond's leaving. So they're going to have to decide Kuminga and Jordan Poole is going to be what I'm looking at. Can they use those two guys and package them off for maybe a veteran, another veteran that can come in like a Pascal Siakam or someone that could help their team? And I think they'll be checking it. Golden State, they're going to check out every option. But first, they got to decide what they're going to do with Bob Myers. He hasn't re-signed yet. So nothing happens until they decide what they're going to do with their general manager.
And you mentioned Draymond. It seemed like that was a power struggle per se. There was one because Kerr says we don't do what we do without Draymond Green. But at the same time, Draymond even admitted to it that when he punched Poole in the preseason, that just set the tone for the year. And Poole never recovered. It seemed like he had a really awful year and didn't recover from what happened in the preseason. They gave him a fat contract in the offseason. Then he gets punched in the face. And then he has a bad year, and he doesn't do anything in the playoffs.
Yeah, that's what Derek said when that happened. He said two things you really hit on this year, Derek, was the Lakers and Golden State. You said their season was over before it even started after that incident.
Yeah, there was no way I could see them winning the championship. And like people were ignoring the incidents that were going on. The Draymond thing, first of all, Jordan Poole is a very sensitive guy. And once again, we go back to social media. He got punched in front of the world. And some people don't get over that. I mean, Draymond, it's like the team took Draymond's side when it happened. They didn't act on it right away. And I'm like, it was on video. What was there to look at? What was there to go back and look at film about? They know what was going on. I think it was something that had built up. It was something that had festered over a period of time. I don't think that was just a one-day thing. Poole is an arrogant guy, but so is Draymond. And on that particular day, Draymond initiated the whole entire thing. First of all, he had no business walking over there. And my problem was no one stepped in between him while he was walking over there. So I'm like, what did they expect to happen? They know Draymond's a very fiery guy. They actually watched him intimidate that guy like a bully in elementary school. And so you got to look at Jordan. Jordan's like, wow, man, how could they even allow that to happen in the first place? And then it's like they didn't have his back after it happened. They were trying to talk around, find ways to finagle so they didn't have to seriously discipline Draymond. And I think they really lost Jordan Poole and a few of the other young players when that incident happened, because some of those guys, I'm sure, were Jordan Poole's running buddies when they weren't on the court. So you lost some young guys, and some of them. What can they say to Draymond? They can't say anything verbally. So for the media, anything. So you talk about it when you're amongst yourselves. So believe me, that was something that went on through the whole season.
Well, it's interesting that you mentioned his first name, Jordan Poole, and you think about Michael Jordan, who didn't have social media around, but didn't he slug Steve Kerr in practice?
Yeah, but
you heard about it after the fact, but it wasn't replayed over and over and over.
Right.
In social media, where it becomes something where it becomes an irritant, as opposed to this is in-house. It's not for the planet to see.
Hey, this hour has just whisked by. Hey, it's 78 all too, by the way. Miami.
Hey, Ricky, I'm hoping you invite me back.
Huh?
I'm hoping you invite me back.
Oh, absolutely, D. We'll do that. Props to Eric Spoelstra. I mean, the job he's done in Miami. You remember when he first took over, everybody thought he was just going to get signals from Pat Riley all the time, and he's established himself as an outstanding coach. But D, we most definitely appreciate you, and people here know they can watch D and I when we do our shows on Thursdays. So we'll actually be back tomorrow night. But I do want to thank you for stopping in and visiting with us tonight, D.
I appreciate it. Tim, it was good to see you. Miss Tree, it's great talking to you. I look forward to seeing you again. And thank you,
too,
Ricky,
sir.
as always.
Absolutely. So this was NBA night, Tree and Tim. And we could probably still go another hour, but we're gonna get out of here and we'll be back at our regular time slot next Tuesday. I want to thank everybody for their questions and comments tonight. And George Sheridan says, God bless you, brother. And we'll see you next week.
Right.
Have a good night.
For McDougal, I'm Rick Hampton. Peace, everybody.
Right. Be kind, everybody.